I'm Obscure Girl. I like movies. I like weird movies. I like weird, trippy, obscure movies that I feel like no one has seen or is talking about. Whether that be because it's so old, or the marketing was just bad, or you're like, I think that was a fever dream I had when I was 5. I'm here to tell you it wasn't. Let's talk about it. Today is definitely going to be an obscure one for the obscure books. I'm not going to lie to you. Because today I want to talk about the 1986 made for TV version of The Worst Witch.
The Worst Witch. It takes more than hocus pocus to be one.
Starring a very young Firuza Balk right after Return to Oz, which, as you all know, is a very dear favorite of mine. But also, this cast is awesome. So you have Caroline Ray from The Facts of Life, if you're a Nick and Night kid like me. And she plays Miss Cackle, the headmistress of the school, as well as her evil twin sister, Agatha Cackle, which, boss name. Love it so much. Dame Diana Rigg. So Lady Olenna Tyrell from Game of Thrones,
Tell Cersei I wanted to know it was me.
but young, gorgeous, and 100% that bitch. Oh my god, she's so cool in this movie. She's legit playing woman Snape a decade plus before Snape was ever even conceived. Like, oh my god, she is the only way to describe her is that bitch, and I freaking love her for it. And then Tim Curry plays the Grand High Wizard.
Well, and what have you concocted for us this year, Miss Cackle?
And to say I learned some things about myself and Tim Curry when I first saw this movie is an understatement, to say the least. What you might know this from is if around Halloween time you ever see this ridiculous music video of Tim Curry singing random stuff about Halloween with a song that feels like it was written by a 9-year-old. Has anybody seen my tambourine? It's from this movie. The movie itself is only like an hour and change, honestly. It's like an hour and 9 minutes long. It's really hard to find a copy. You might be able to find a copy on this platform, but it is not a good copy. I'm telling you right now, but it's probably the only one you could find. You didn't hear it from me. Anyway, and it is campy and it's for kids, but it's like that movie that you can throw on for your kids to watch with their grandparents around Halloween time, you know? It's super cute. And if you have any little witches in the making, any little goth ghoulies that already are eating up the Halloween season, this is 100% for them. Now, as always, this is going to be a pretty spoiler filled video. I am going to do a deep dive. It's going to be a quick deep dive because it's a quick movie. But if you want to check it out yourself, please do so. Come back, let's chat. All right, you had your time. Now, we start off this movie with the song Growing Up Isn't Easy, which is so adorable and will probably get stuck in your head. And years later in life, you'll be humming it and not know what it is. And then finally, you'll come across this video one more time and be like, oh my God, that was it. Definitely not speaking from experience. And we start with probably some slightly atrocious CGI. It was the 80s. It was made for TV. We'll give it some breaks. But yeah, I'm letting you know right now this was not a technological marvel by any means. But you start off with Mildred Hubble, played by Veruza Balk. She's clumsy. She trips, she falls, she knocks other girls down. She doesn't always remember her homework properly. She doesn't always, pick the bog moss directly at midnight. Sometimes it's more like 2:30 in the morning and therefore the whole potion's messed up. But she's adorable and she's trying and she has a good witchy heart. Though you have Miss Hardbroom, played by Dame Diana Rigg, and she is on Mildred's case. Like, oh my god, she cannot do anything right by this woman. And even if other girls are the ones who actually made the mistake, she'll probably still blame Mildred, and it's kind of crazy. And you've got Mildred's best friend Maud, who they have a potions exam with Professor Hardbroom, because of course, female Snape teaches potions. I'm just saying, this came out first, y'all. Anyway, but Maud wants to cheat on the test, and Hardbroom immediately is like, yeah, nice try. And they have to make this potion. They have to make a laughing potion. And quickly realize that they messed up because one of the ingredients was wrong. And so their what was supposed to be a laughing potion turns into an invisibility potion, and they go totally see through. Again, not great CGI, but it's cute. It's really cute. There's like one part where they're turning back into themselves, and their boots are like animated, like their boots try and switch which person they're going on, but they're moving by themselves. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it's cute. It's really cute. Meanwhile, even though Maud is the one that proved was the one who wanted to cheat, and they both did the exam together, Hardroom only sends Mildred to the principal's office.
You, Mildred Hubble, will go straight to Miss Cackle's office and explain exactly why you have failed your potion test so miserably.
Like, she has it in for her, guys. It's redonkulous. So then Mildred ends up going to Miss Cackle, again played by Carolyn Ray, and she definitely has a different vibe from Miss Hardbroom. Miss Hardbroom is very like strict schedule, you do things right, you get your exams right, then I'll like you. And Miss Cackle is very much, she's like that grandma that's like, no, I know you're trying. I'm just kind of disappointed. She's sweet and motherly, but also like lets Mildred know, like, she actually says to her, you must be the worst witch in the entire school. I'm like, savage! She just took I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed to a nuclear level. Oh my god. But then she immediately goes, all right, was I mean and nasty enough for you? All right, cool, go get breakfast. So she's kind of adorable and kind of like a little bit, she's preoccupied. She has a whole school to run. Like, she's not focusing so much on, the moment to moment. She's got a lot going on. As it is when Mildred walks in, she's on the phone with her niece Donna, who then crashes her broom into the school with her broom phone because her broom has a phone on it. Love it. Anyway, moving on. But when I say Miss Hardroom is on Mildred's behind, I'm not joking because later that night, Maud and Mildred are in their dorm room. They're like in bed and they're gossiping about Miss Hardroom and how she once was madly in love with the Grand High Wizard, and a jealous like fellow witch put a curse on her so that the wizard would only see her as a toad anytime he came around. And they're like giggling like crazy about it. And Hardroom just appears in like green lighting and scares the crap out of both of them. It's like, yeah, teach you to gossip about me, go to bed. And it's just like, she's legit listening, waiting to hear them gossiping about her. Or she just has some kind of like tripwire spell cast across the whole school that if her name gets mentioned, she zooms in. I don't know, but it was classic. And also, young Dame Diana Rigg was just gorgeous, just unfairly gorgeous. Like, she was easily my favorite character in Game of Thrones, but even when she was younger, she was fabulous. Oh my god. Anyway, we now transfer our scene to the middle of the woods by the castle. School. Not Hogwarts, because this came first. And we see someone who looks remarkably like Miss Cackle, but with a glorious pink wig, and is wearing like traditional, like old fashioned, like witchy Halloween costume clothes. And she's surrounded by these awesome witches with awesome different colored hair and crazy makeup and crazy dresses and the striped tights and the boots and like, yes. And she's with her, pretty much her stooge, Delilah, who's got like this spiky green hair. And we find out this is Miss Cackle's evil twin sister, Agatha, and she's planning to take over the whole school and turn it evil because she feels her sister stole her birthright from their mother who started the school, and she wants to turn it evil like her. And then we go back to the school after this lovely little introduction. So now we're back in the school for assembly, and Miss Cackle, the real one, announces that the Grand High Wizard himself is going to be joining their school celebration for Halloween, and that he gets hundreds of invitations every year, and they should be so honored that he chose their school to spend the most sacred holiday with them, and so they're going to have to do it up. And now it's time for all the first years to get their kittens, which is adorable. And this is where we meet Ethel Hallow, who is the school's resident mean girl. Oh my god. Again, like, I'd say girl Malfoy, but like I liked Malfoy. Don't cancel me. I was young, I was in love, I made decisions. Anyway, but Elsa Hollow is like she comes from a long line of older sisters that were all perfectionists. Her mom is like a pushy perfectionist. Her dad's on the Council of Wizards. She gets all A's and she looks her nose down at everyone and is a snooty little biatch. Like not likable in any way, shape, or form. She has a punchable face. Moving on. And so she gets called first to get the cat because she's top of the class. And of course, by the time it finally gets to Mildred getting her cat, they ran out of black kittens. And so she gets the only gray one, which is just as adorable, even though you know I love me a black cat. But she names her Tabby because she wanted to name her Blackie and thought that might be a little insensitive to the cat. And then decides she's just going to name her Tabby. And so it's now time for all of the girls to practice riding their brooms with the cat on them, which, first of all, they're still learning just how to ride the brooms in general. And then they immediately, bring in an innocent animal, but okay. And Tabby is not having flying. Like, clearly, it's her first day out of the basket, and she gets set on a broom to go in the air, but whatever. All the other girls manage to have their cats sit perfectly on the broom, but Tabby has to go inside of Mildred's, like, book bag, pretty much. And then, of course, when she gets down, she gets in trouble for it because that's not how it's supposed to be done. And I'm like, who cares? You have a cat, you have a broom. Let's go. Like, why are we getting so into the nitty gritty? Why does it have to look like, a Spirit Halloween poster? But I digress. And at some point during this, we have cut out back to the woods to Agatha and Delilah and Ensemble, and they're disgusted by how goody goody they're training the girls to be. And Agatha is all like, they even changed my school song. I want to bring my school song back. And they have this adorable just singing part, like this adorable, like little song, whatever, called In My Little School. But it's like, but if you're smelly, evil, and cruel, you'll be right at home in my little school. Like, it's so cute and really bouncy and kind of a toe tapper. But it's just, again, the lyrics were clearly written by a 13-year-old or younger, and it's really just cute. It's cute, guys. It's cute. Give it a chance. So we get to this scene where you have Miss Cackle and Miss Hardbroom in Miss Cackle's office, and Hardbroom just really shows how much she's just gunning for Mildred. Like, oh my god, she's all just like, yeah, we're gonna have to keep an eye on that one. She's gonna be trouble, blah blah blah. And Miss Cackle's like, dude, she's not that bad. Chill. And then Hardbroom's all just like singing up the praises of Ethel Hallow and how that whole family's amazing and remarkable. And Miss Cackle's like, never really liked them. They're kind of insufferable, and their mom's kind of a pushy biatch. Like,
There's a funny thing about that Hallow family. I never cared for them much. That Mrs. Hallow, such a pushy witch.
not a fan, but okay. And Hardbroom's all just like, watch me. She's gonna get expelled. She's not gonna get her witch license. Like Mildred is not gonna make it through the school. Watch me.
Mark my words, Mildred Hubble will never graduate as a witch from this academy.
It's like, so you just admit to your boss that you have it in for this girl, and you're going to purposely try to fail her. It's a TV movie from the 80s. It's a TV movie from the 80s. Moving on. So at this point, it's pretty established. A lot of the girls kind of are, they feel bad for Mildred, but they're also kind of annoyed by her constantly messing up things for the rest of them, pretty much. And it's not her fault. She's just clumsy. Like, there's always going to be a time when you forget this thing in your homework, when, you don't study the hardest, whatever. And they decide they're going to play a game of terror tag, which is they split into two teams, which of course Ethel's one of the captains, so of course Mildred gets called last. And it's like, all right, this is so bullying tropes, but okay. And the whole point is one team has to scare members of the other team, and like you have to scream. Basically, if you scream, the other team gets a point. And Mildred cannot stop screaming. Like, the first couple of screams are all Mildred, and some of them are even like her own team just kind of startled her. So it's like she's not good at this game. Also, all of these screams are like, dude, why are you so scared? You know they're there. So they have this cute little montage of them playing the game, and a lot of girls end up screaming and stuff. But then Ethel throws on this ugly mask, and Mildred ends up screaming hysterically like 20 times and ends up losing the game for all of them. And Ethel's all like, I didn't wear a mask. What mask? Prove it. And Mildred's like, watch it, because I'm going to turn you into a frog. And she's like, yeah, go ahead and try. You don't even know that spell, biatch. So then Mildred's like, all right, bet. And starts putting the spell on Ethel. And instead of turning her into a frog, she turns her into a pig. To which we kind of find out at this point how the rest of the girls actually feel about Ethel, because they are dying. They're like, oh man, you never look better, kind of thing. And she's like, oh, what's that smell? And Ethel is not taking this well. Absolute, just stick up the butt. Like, most insufferable she is in the entire movie. So you kind of giggle, like, haha, you're a pig now. Like, yeah, shut up, you're a pig. I don't care. So it's kind of cool seeing her get her comeuppance. But then Hardbroom shows up, of course, and is all like, all right, well, change your back, genius. And Mildred tries to change her back, doesn't know how to. Of course, Ethel loves that. And all the girls are just dying laughing, like, way to go, Mildred. Like, you did it. Good for you. So it's like, okay, Ethel's not as popular as she thinks she is. But then Hardbroom's like, all right, well, take her with you, go to the library, figure out how to change her back. Bye bye. Also, I want to take this moment to point out these spells in this movie are hilarious. They are so, so funny. Like, absolutely ridiculous, cheesy spells that, as an adult, you're laughing, you're rolling your eyes. As a kid, you're like, this is genius. Like, I need to take notes here. Oh my God. Like, and yes, I was one of those kids who was definitely taking notes. Absolutely. But there's even one spell where it's like, Jade Alabaster, Gin Rummy, Canasta. When I say faster, you say disaster. And it's like, oh my God, that's so cute. Or like manga, 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 moo, blah, 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 blue. Like, whatever. It's really cute. I do love the spells in this. It's just like, who wrote this? And then when you find out that actually the girl who wrote the book, she wrote it by the time she was 15, when she was in her own boarding school. And this was back in like the late 60s, early 70s, when the girl who actually wrote this book she got it published in 74, but she had written it like 10 years earlier when she was still a teenager. So obviously, this was written by a teenager. We can give allowances. Good for you for getting published that early. Like, snaps to you, honey. And also, now this is a franchise that has had like two spin-off series since then. Like, even a couple years ago, the girl who played Lyanna Mormont from Game of Thrones, she ended up playing Mildred Hubble in a more modern day retelling of a series version of The Worst Witch. So it's still going. Like, good for her to set up a legacy. Also, a legacy filled with Game of Thrones actors. Must be a British thing. Anyway, so she does end up getting to turn her back, but when she turns her back, she's like covered in acne. Haha, gets her comeuppance, yay. Next day, all the girls in class are swooning over this picture of the Grand High Wizard, which is, again, a young Tim Curry. And again, I learned some things about myself in relation to Tim Curry at a very young age. And then forgot it for like years. And then as a grown up, I was just like, oh, yeah, right. Hi. But yeah, so clearly he's set up to be the heartthrob. Also, he's the only male character in the entire movie. That's just a fun little tidbit of trivia for you. And then even Hardroom comes in, she grabs the picture and she's like, this is not for you. Focus on your studies. And then storms off and just takes the picture. Like, all right, I would too. But Hardbroom also announces that in honor of the Grand High Wizard gracing their humble school with his presence, they're going to have a broom flying expo in his honor. And she like describes this crazy choreography that they're going to do, and there's going to be tryouts, and calls out Mildred in front of the whole school for no reason. It's like, and you, Mildred Hubble, are really going to have to study if you ever think you have a chance on this team. Doesn't say anything to anyone else, just calls her out. She didn't even say anything. Like, girl, chill. But I digress. So then they end up having the tryouts and everything, and Mildred actually does really good to the point where Harbroom's like, oh my god, who is that? She's doing really good. Oh, it's Mildred. Give her a 4. And it's like, what the heck, man? So then they end up announcing who makes it onto the team, and Mildred didn't make it, even though she had been like actually practicing really hard. And then one of the girls turns out she'd gotten to the laughing potion again, and she's in the infirmary. And so Mildred actually makes it by, she was the runner up, I guess. Even though there were plenty of other girls who didn't make it, but so it looks like she actually did do a pretty good job. But whatever. But then Harbroom's like, why is there a ribbon around your broom? Because of course she had broken it earlier. And so Ethel's like, oh, I have a spare she can use. Totally. And then of course puts a curse on her spare broom so that when she says faster during the broom expo, the broom is going to totally sabotage and ruin the entire show. So then we get to Halloween itself, the grand night happening, and Tim Curry makes a hell of an entrance. Like, oh my god, they really played him up in this. No joke. They're like, oh, we got Frankenfurter, let's go. So then he shows up, and that is where we get the famous song, If You Know It, You Know It, Anything Can Happen on Halloween, where we have the delightful CGI happening in his cape that's like flying all over the place, and he's having a blast, and, tambourine out of nowhere. Like, these lyrics were written by a child. It's okay. They actually were written by a child. But the scene's fantastic and it's iconic. And again, if you know, you know. And he seems very like this character of, yeah, I'm the Grand High Wizard. Like, I know what's up. Like, you're lucky to see me, kind of thing. And he's actually kind of flirting with Hardroom a little bit, which I'm like, oh my god, if I could have been there with Dame Diana Rigg and Tim Curry in a flirting match. Oh my god. Moving on. So then So then we get to the Broom Expo, and they're doing fantastic. They're doing a great job. Mildred is bringing her A game. And then, of course, Ethel just has to ruin it for literally everyone and sabotages everything. And Mildred ends up like face planting right in front of the Grand High Wizard. The rest of the girls are legit falling out of the sky and landing on the ground, and no one seems concerned. Again, what is it with British witching schools and no one caring about safety? But I digress. And so then the Grand High Wizard's like, all right, well, if this is what the witches of the future are, I'm kind of concerned. I gotta go. I've got like another gig. Bye. And Cackle and Harbroom are so furious that the wizard just left because of all of this. Even Cackle's just like, Mildred, no supper, go to bed. I will deal with you tomorrow. So then Mildred decides, like, obviously I have to run away. They're gonna expel me. I need to avoid the shame and just dip on my own. So she takes her cat and she leaves. And honestly, the climax of this kind of wraps up pretty quickly at this point because, of course, she runs into Agatha and the other witches in the forest and it's like, what's going on here? And she hears their whole plan that, everyone's tired from the day after Halloween. They're all going to be sleeping. They're going to turn everyone into frogs and take over the place and turn it evil. And so then Mildred hears all of this, and as the witches see her and are slow AF on their way to get her, like Jason Voorhees looks like he's sprinting in comparison to how fast these witches are moving to get to Mildred. She actually successfully does what she's trying to do and turns them all into snails, which, good for her. Her first very successful spell, and she saves the whole school. Yay! So then she ends up going back, and Hardbroom is all like, yeah, you left school grounds. You are so done. And at this point, she's taking Mildred off to the principal's office. But then Maud corners Ethel and finds out, like, Ethel makes some kind of slip and realizes that Ethel sabotaged Mildred and the rest of them by proxy. And all of the girls are just like completely turned on Ethel. And we're like, it was you the whole time. We knew it. Like, what's wrong with you? Or she gets called out, she gets her comeuppance. Yay. We have Mildred and Hardbroom make their way to Cackle's office, and she's all just like, no, no, no. Like, yeah, I was going to run away. Yeah, but look what I found. There were these witches trying to take over the school. I turn them into snails. And Herbrim's like, yeah, right. You actually successfully turned them into anything you tried to. Good joke. And Cackle's like, wait, hang on. You said one looked like me. What was the name? Like, did you hear any names? And she's like, I think I heard Aggie. And she's like, no, dude, I believe her. That's my sister. So then she actually gets Mildred to successfully, once again, turn the witches back into witches from snails. And it's really kind of funny, too, because you have this room full of witches and they all want revenge on Mildred. And she's just standing there like, oh, you silly thing. They still have powers. You turn them away from snails. They're witches again. They could easily kill you. And she's like, oh, you silly thing. Like, I got you. And then Cackle's all just like, yeah, go ahead. I'll deal with this. And then she, like, camera tricks, but whatever. But it makes it look like she grows to, like, 50 feet. Kind of like that Gandalf scene, like, Bilbo Baggins. It's kind of like that. And that's the last, for the most part, that we see of Aggie and all of them. Like, Cackle just puts her sister in her place and turns her out. And then we have Mildred getting summoned to the Great Hall because they're Cackle and people want to see her, and there's this whole assembly, and there is the Grand High Wizard who announces, I've actually been watching this girl. Like, I've been watching her with her friends, I've been watching her in her classes, I've been seeing how people treat her, and, once in a purple moon, the camp, the camp, there is a witch that often goes unnoticed by her classmates because she doesn't fit the same wavelength as them. But she's the exceptional witch of that generation.
Isn't always the girl who comes out top of the tests. A true witch has witchcraft in her at all times.
And that's this girl right here. She saved her school. I'm declaring this is a half holiday for the rest of you. And Mildred, what are you doing? You have a half holiday. And she's like, probably going to practice my flying. He's like, all right, want to practice with me? And she's like, shut up. She doesn't actually say that, but her face says, shut up. And then she gets to fly with the Grand High Wizard. And anyone who's seen the meme where people are like, clearly Nancy is Frankenfurter's daughter. No, he just kind of adopted her when she was in witch school. Proof here. So that was the worst witch. They go out with, once again, growing up isn't easy, and it will get stuck in your head for the rest of your life. And I think it's a campy, adorable movie. It's so cute and it's so fun. Like I said, this is one, if you have a little ghoulie in the making, they have to see this. If it's Halloween and this is something like, you want to watch with your grandkids, it's a cute one to have on because it's definitely got that cute, like, whimsy camp, but it's also got a lot of nostalgia and a really great cast from the past. And check it out, man. I highly suggest that this spooky season you give The Worst Witch a watch. I didn't even mean to do the alliteration. That was just me. Cool, and I nailed it. Yes. Anyway, I've been Obscure Girl. Please check me out on Patreon. Let's help get this channel going. I currently have blankets covering my windows right now, guys. I could use some drapes. Just saying. Like, you can help me out so much just with that to get the lighting going in here. Please like this video if you like my stuff. Please subscribe to my channel. It helps so much. I really want to get this channel going. Thank you to everyone that's been engaging and commenting and liking and watching my stuff. I now have 3 videos at over 100 views. And again, I know it's not a lot in YouTube world, but for me, it's a serious milestone and I really appreciate it. And again, Patreon, like, subscribe, share. I've been Obscure Girl, and the rest is confetti.